We're here for another episode of The Big Show at GamesBeat Next 2025, and I'm here with Randy Pitchford, the founder and president of Gearbox.
What?
Thank you, Randy.
Hi, how's it going?
Such a pleasure.
Cheers.
So, Randy, I don't want to jump the gun here, but I think maybe we should start off with something fun.
What?
I've been told that maybe you had a magic trick prepared for this podcast episode.
I did one earlier because we're at the gig. You want to see that?
If you don't mind.
Okay. So here's the deal. That before I was a game developer, I was a magician.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Did you also know that I'm a professional poker player?
Really?
Yeah. In fact, you can see me every once in a while playing on what billed itself as the world's first reality poker show. It's called Max Payne Monday. You can search for it on the internet.
Okay.
And it shoots at the Hustler Casino in Los Angeles. Every once in a while I'm on this show. And I actually there's a little clip they did of me having, I think it might be the biggest win in the history of the show. I started with 3,000 and cashed out with over 63,000.
Dude.
In just this one session. It was pretty great.
Huh.
And I keep with me my winning hand.
All right.
You want to see my winning hand? All right, I'll show you my winning hand. Now, here's the thing about poker. Have you ever played poker?
Love poker. Texas Hold'em player.
Yeah, great. So that's what we play, Hold'em. So the thing about poker is it doesn't matter what our hand is. What matters is what you think I have.
Sure.
Right? So if I have a strong hand, or you think I have a strong hand, it doesn't matter what I actually have. But if you think my hand's strong, you might fold, and then I'll win. I don't even have to show my cards. If you think my hand is weak, and I bet, maybe you'll call or raise me. But if my hand's strong, then I'll take your money.
Sure.
So it doesn't matter whether my hand is weak or strong. What matters is what you think my hand is. If you think my hand is weak or strong. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to break the rules. I'm going to show you my winning hand.
Okay.
Okay. And when I do, you're going to know what it is. So I want you to pay attention because you won't have to read me anymore.
Okay.
All right. You ready? I'm going to show you my hand. You ready?
Okay.
Do you have it? Don't forget it. Were you paying attention?
I certainly saw something.
Yeah. You're paying attention because, here's the thing. It's easy to forget. It's 5 cards. It's a lot to remember.
In this case, maybe not.
Think it's a very strong hand?
Seems like it.
Well, one card. Do you remember the last card? The value of the last card?
You
don't remember the value of
no.
the ace?
Oh, well.
The ace of spades.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's one of the best cards you can have.
Okay, interesting.
So you probably also forgot the color of the cards. You forgot that they were all blue? And that means you totally missed that I actually have a royal flush in spades.
Oh, my goodness.
Which is impossible to beat. And that's the winning hand. That's how you do it.
My mind is blown right
Heck
now.
Yeah.
I'm actually shaking.
We melted you. We melted your brain.
How did he do it?
It's impossible.
We're going to have to go back in slow motion and see if,
You won't find nothing. You won't find nothing.
Did you actually win that hand with a royal flush?
No.
Okay.
I won many hands with lots of different hands, and some of them were garbage because it doesn't matter what you have. It matters what you make people think you have.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
All right, there's a lesson here. Well, thank you, Randy.
Yeah.
And all right, let's dive into some of these questions here.
Get into it.
All right, so you are the creator of some of the most recognizable and memorable gaming IPs out there.
Thank you.
Clearly,
all by myself. I had no help.
Single-handed.
I just do it all. Yeah, I'm just a one-man show. No.
So with that in mind, if you could go back to the beginning of Borderlands and change anything about your approach, knowing what you know now, what would you do differently, if anything?
I wouldn't change anything, honestly, because I think that everything that works is great, and everything that doesn't, we learn from. And I'm grateful for those lessons too. And I think that if we as a team didn't have the lessons as we're making this stuff, it wouldn't be what it is. So I think I wouldn't change anything. I tend to not even think much about the past. I tend to just focus on what's next and think about the future. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
So Borderlands has a really distinct identity.
Okay.
That also is is distinctly different across the different games of the series. I think there's a consistency and also some novelty, but you have to strike a very careful balance.
They're not the
there.
same exact games.
Certainly not. Yeah.
Yeah, we've messed around.
So how would you describe the creative philosophy that allows you to maintain that consistency while also pushing the boundaries with each new?
Wow, I don't know if it's a philosophy so much as just knowing what Borderlands is. And so if you know what it is, then other things that share that property can also be Borderlands. And it's more than the sum of features. It's more than a type of genre or a particular look and feel. It's Borderlands is actually really about an idea. And the idea is that it's kind of fun sometimes and definitely interesting when things that have no business being together are forced together. And there's a weird, awkward space between two things that don't belong. And that space is a borderland.
Ah.
So, like, we think of Borderlands as a location, but it's not. It's an idea. It's the borderland between science fiction and Western, or the borderland between realism and surrealism, or the borderland between a role-playing game and a shooter, or even the characters tend to live in a borderland between who they are and who they want to be or who they wish they were. And that's a really interesting space to play, you know? I sometimes describe it as like, if you think about the highway that cuts through like a field, and there's a place in between the field and the highway where they touch. And there's a little border there that's neither the field nor the highway, but it has pieces of both. Some of the asphalt is broken. There's little bits of broken asphalt, maybe little bits of field growing through, but it's not the field. It's just the edge of it. And that blend where they connect is that weird space that's kind of awkward and uncomfortable, but also awesome.
So, and this gets into one of the sort of philosophical questions that I wanted to ask you, because you're right. It's awkward. It's awesome. It's different.
Yeah.
I have to imagine that in the early days when you were describing this vision, this concept to investors, to people maybe more focused on the business side.
I've never once pitched it to investors.
Oh, really? So,
no.
I mean, how do you reconcile this kind of creative vision with the business side? And
it seems impossible. I remember when we were developing the first game, and there were some people in the industry that after we announced it, noticed it, and were trying to like estimate what was going to happen.
Yeah.
In fact, famously, there was, Jeff Keighley, and he had a show that he was doing with Michael Pachter, who's an analyst with Wedbush Morgan, or I don't know, whatever they are.
Some analyst somewhere.
He's an analyst.
Yeah.
And Jeff asked him, like, what do you think is going to happen to Borderlands? And he said, oh, it's absolutely being sent to die. It has no hope. Because if you want a shooter, you'll play Call of Duty. And I think that year, like, if you want a role-playing game, you're going to play Dragon Age. And it's not gonna work. And it's just being sent to die. And that'll be the last we ever hear of Borderlands. And I remember watching that, knowing already, it wasn't out yet, but I knew they were wrong.
Awesome.
But I also was kind of glad they were wrong, because it reminds us that the world you can't predict the future just by looking at the patterns of the past. And sometimes exciting things will appear that don't make sense by looking at things through the lens of a past. And it's, you mentioned about like pitching to investors or whatever, like it seems impossible. Like it's not
right.
You can't, for the kind of mind that can only be comfortable taking a risk by looking at what comparable things have done in the past, that mind will never take a bet on something that's incomparable to the past.
True.
Which means that mind has no hope of ever being involved in anything awesome or disruptive. The best they're going to do is get lucky with something that's imitative or reductive of something from before, and maybe captures a piece of market from that. But they're never going to innovate with that. Unfortunately, I think that most investors don't think that way. I think a lot of our most intrepid investors are eager and excited to put risk on those things that might show something new that's never happened before.
No pressure on this, but out of curiosity, do any specific examples come to mind where you had an idea for Borderlands or for something else that Gearbox was making that you loved, but had some really kind of obvious, maybe like this, this isn't the most optimal from a business perspective, but you went through with it anyway and ended up paying
Well, Borderlands is a great example of that.
Let's hear it.
And before that, I created a series called Brothers in Arms, which is about soldiers in World War II, and which seemed odd because we didn't have a lot of resources. I took a lot of risk with our own money, my money at the studio. I was risking and investing on developing this thing. And we were up against, like, Electronic Arts had a franchise called Medal of Honor.
Right.
And, that was from DreamWorks and Electronic Arts. And they had, like, all the resources in the world and all the credibility in the world. So what the hell were we doing? But when we launched, it worked out. We ended up getting better review scores than Call of Duty and Medal of Honor, and we had higher sales than their first games. Our first games beat their first games. And that was really exciting and seemed impossible because we were the wild underdog. But what it took was building it. It took building it. And in fact, at one point, we had a Microsoft as a publishing partner just before the Xbox launched, and they got afraid, and I ended up buying back my publishing rights and shopping it. And I had a pretty much near finished game at that point with a very good demonstration, like a vertical slice of what it had, but I also had most of the game built, and I was able to take it to Ubisoft and show them. So for them, it didn't have to be a very risky decision because they could look at the product already, and it was beautiful and awesome. But yeah, it was, that was a big risk, because if that didn't work, that might've been the end of us.
Right. And I mean, clearly someone at Microsoft was unwilling to put up with that risk, I guess.
Well, no, they bet on it, but when I bought it back, they were going through a lot of changes. And they asked us to kind of just go on the treadmill for 6 more months. And it was because they were changing leadership, and it was difficult for them to make decisions. And it was also difficult for them to find an off-ramp to commercialize the product at that moment.
Makes sense.
And they had to prioritize, and, so they asked us to be chill. And then, I was able to really, they were kind of happy that I was able to buy it back and get out, because they didn't really have the resources and the attention. It wasn't, I mean, they had plenty of money, but the attention was really the limiting factor.
I'm glad it all worked out.
Oh yeah, me too.
It sounds like it's all good vibes there. So let's talk a little bit about this concept of so-called player fatigue that has become somewhat of a discussion. I mean, obviously you guys just put out the 4th iteration of one of the most storied video game franchises out there, and we have a number of long-running franchises that are very popular and have had recent releases. Mm-hmm. Do you think that player fatigue is real?
What is player fatigue? Define that for me.
It's the idea that players are looking maybe for something new and getting burnt out on IPs that have existed for a while. Basically, the same discussion that's happening in Hollywood around coming up with new IP versus, building on older ones. Mm-hmm. Is there value to building something new as opposed to continuing to build on pre-existing?
There's value in both. There isn't.
How you guys approach that?
There isn't one player, it turns out.
True.
And any given player often has varied tastes. I'm a customer, and I play all kinds of interesting things and varied things. And sometimes I'm absolutely excited about something that I've never seen before that can stimulate me and engage me.
Yeah.
And other times I just kind of get tired of the fact that sometimes there's people trying to take new swings, but they just suck. And it's nice to go to something I can trust and count on, and that's just my own taste, swinging between those, oscillating between the two ideas you just kind of offered. And I know that, there's some players that won't buy a thing unless they think it's a big deal and they've heard about it. In fact, I think most customers.
I think so. Yeah.
I think that's a
if they have to spend any money at all, then
And I think like you can see it in the results too. Like sometimes there's a moment when some new indie game will show up and it's like, oh my God, they sold 1 million units. And it's amazing because it's amazing. To show up out of nowhere and to find 1 million customers is very hard.
Yeah.
Very, very hard. And then in the same breath, we'll hear about like a big IP that's launched and did like 3 or 4 million units on its opening weekend. It's like, oh, that's disappointing.
It's all relative.
Everything's relative, is my point.
No, well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
And, but you know, I have a feeling that when the next Grand Theft Auto game comes out next year, that a lot of people are going to buy it.
Oh, yeah.
And that one of the reasons they're going to buy it because they can trust it and they can count on it. And they kind of want it to be what it should be and what it probably will give us, which is an awesome Grand Theft Auto experience.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
And then there'll be some people going, see, gamers are totally happy with a sequel. And then there'll be some other sequel that doesn't work. And someone else will say, see, gamers don't want sequels anymore. And it's like, no, that one didn't work.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Turns out gamers are not a monolith.
Yeah, we're all people just wanting awesome experiences. And it turns out that, you know, video games are a big medium and some games can capture a lot of us and others are totally happy and can be wildly successful even with a niche of us. And it's all fine and it all works and there's room for all of us.
So with all that in mind, when we look forward at the next 1 year, 5 years, what do you see as the big potential sources of growth in this industry? And it could be new platforms or business models or genres. Yeah.
The biggest source of growth is that we do create new people.
Like, have kids?
Yes, people will have kids and the population is generally getting larger before it gets smaller. And as a medium, we haven't quite reached saturation yet. It turns out that most new people, like you look at a school age person, and they prefer interactive entertainment over all other forms of entertainment.
Makes sense.
And they'll choose a video game over over music or a video or a book any day of the week. And we are creating more new people. There are older people that grew up with video games now, and they still have video games as part of their lives. But the oldest generation that exists today did not grow up with video games. And not many of them are gamers the same way that new people are gamers.
Right. I see what you're saying.
You know, so like most of the growth is going to be caused by more people. Now, but what's interesting is population growth is slowing down. But we're not saturated yet. You know, we're most saturated in the West, but we're not even 100% saturated yet. And the only thing that will cause that is time.
That is such a good point.
Yeah. Where it's of all the people alive, 100% are possibly video game customers.
Right. And there's no other medium that has that, I guess, current limitation, right? Film, books, radio.
Yes.
The entire population has been exposed to these from day one.
Yes.
But to your point, gaming is unique.
And there's some newer mediums, you know, depending on, you know, a lot of people, I like to think of, I think social media is a entertainment medium as well. And it's also interactive, which is kind of like a video game, but we don't necessarily classify it like that. But it's a, you know, fast, digestible, short form, interactive, digital.
You're actually blowing my mind right now.
Piece of entertainment, you know, but yeah, for some reason, interactivity is more stimulating than like passive entertainment from the past, but there's still room for all of it. You know, like, you know, think of, you know, theater, for example. Theater is bigger than it ever has been.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. There was a time, like if you rewind the clock 100 years, every city in America had a theater, which had live, like vaudeville shows going on.
Yeah.
But the population was so much smaller, so that the sum of the entire vaudeville circuit, like the sum size of that as an industry, was smaller than Hamilton. A single Broadway massive mega hit on Broadway is larger than the entire live theater industry was in like 1885. Right. So, you know, just because we have new mediums that are capturing massive amounts of attention doesn't mean old mediums go away or even get smaller. They can grow too. But they, it feels different because they're not king anymore. Like there was a moment when Hollywood was king, and video games passed Hollywood in terms of like revenue long ago. But movies aren't going away. The business will change and evolve, but it's a really awesome way to tell a story, and a lot of us really love experiencing entertainment that way. So it'll exist in different forms as we move forward.
And honestly, I mean, as you know firsthand, movies are pulling from games more often, and that's actually it's a big source of potential growth.
Movies pull from the world. Movies are a storytelling medium,
right?
And it's now the case that interactive entertainment, video games, are part of the zeitgeist of storytelling. And so, yeah, any medium is going to take advantage of the environment.
I honestly can't get over what you were saying about social media being interactive media. I mean, I never made that connection before, but that is so spot on.
It has some neat, like even just scrolling on Instagram is an interactive choice, and, and what you decide to click on and what you're deciding not to, and all of that likes and comments. It's a kind of a gamification of interacting with people's whatever they're sharing, and it's a game.
Now imagining a game where the interface is scrolling down a social feed and doing things to
we
play.
have it. It's called Instagram.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it wouldn't do very well.
And like you know that long ago we learned that games don't have to have a score, and there doesn't have to be a beginning or a middle or an end.
Right.
And they don't have to, even have a singular story. It's just an experience of interactivity using a medium. That's all it is.
Yeah, I love that.
Awesome.
I might write a whole article about that.
Great.
I got a few fun questions to wrap us up.
Okay, whatever you want. I'm here for you. I am your hostage.
All right. Well, that sounds fun. At the big show, we always like to end with a few actionable takeaways.
Okay.
What every CEO should take from the gaming industry playbook. So,
oh my God.
Here's maybe a question to kind of tee this up. What is the biggest bet that you would say Gearbox is taking right now?
The biggest bet we've made recently was to trade our independence to become part of Take-Two, to become part of an engine. And it's a big bet because there's, a significant loss of autonomy for me, especially, but in exchange for which I get to stop having to think about a whole lot of things that were more like the kinds of things CEOs think about, and more of the kinds of things that are why I'm in this business and what I love about it, which is I'm an entertainer and I'm a creative. And I think Gearbox historically has been at its best when myself and my creative team can spend all of our time creating the entertainment, trying to build joy and happiness for the minds of the people we're reaching. And we're not at our best when we have to distract ourselves on more practical matters of survival. And we abdicate a lot of responsibility and authority in this decision, which is really a sign of trust that was built over this 20-year relationship with the 2K label and Take-Two. And it's not even the entities, it's actually the people.
Right.
It's me pledging an allegiance of trust to Strauss Zelnick and to David Ishmailer, who's running the 2K label, and Strauss runs Take-Two, and them in turn pledging trust to me. And their belief that if I focused my energy on creativity, that we can increase the quality and the value of the entertainment that we're making. And it's a big bet, and it's a big leap of faith, but it's awesome, and it's going really well so far. And I know given what we're planning and what it unlocks, because we haven't even experienced what that unlocks yet. We're just at the very beginning of this relationship, but what that unlocks is going to be very powerful. And awesome. I'm really much looking forward to
I'm glad you brought that up.
Being a part of it.
Yeah, I was actually meaning to ask about that. So thank you. You read my mind.
Yeah.
Okay, Well, one more question for you is a two-parter, and I promise you it's going to end on something a little more fun. But the first half is what is the biggest challenge in gaming right now? Not even for Gearbox, but for the industry as a whole. What are the biggest challenges and stress points that we need to address for the sake of the industry?
The biggest challenge for video games as an industry is that a video game, the fundamental nature of it implies and requires challenge.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think separates video games from, say, digital interactive, like social media is a digital interactive medium. Right. It's the challenge that's part of a video game. And challenge implies work and effort and difficulty. And none of those things are a synonym for joy, happiness, and fun. We do get gratification when we overcome a challenge, but only some of us actually want to spend money and time overcoming challenge.
It's those types of fun, right? Like type 3 fun, type 4 fun.
Right. So the biggest challenge we face is that fundamentally what we have to offer involves friction, involves challenge, which implies all kinds of things from difficulty to work.
Right.
And that's the fact that challenge implies work and work is not fun is a real fundamental hurdle.
Yeah.
And you can extrapolate that to literally everything that makes games wonderful and gives us audiences that no other medium can have, but also keeps us from some of, like, when we think about the staggering number of people that will interact with a social media platform, and we think about, okay, if our job is to entertain people and they're packaging entertainment and leveraging the group to develop the content for it, even, like, we can't compete with that.
Right.
And that's wow. That is a big, big deal.
I'm going to start asking everyone about this. Seriously. I really like that answer.
No, it's much higher level than what most, I think everybody in the industry is too kind of stuck on their challenge of their tiny little myopic detail of the day.
Yeah.
Or some little fragment of, like, but that's not the big fucking picture, man.
Yeah.
The big picture is our version of entertainment requires people to overcome something.
I asked for a big problem and you answered with a big problem. Seriously. Yeah. So I'm going to give you the flip side of this question and we'll end on something more optimistic. What gives you the most excitement and optimism about the future of gaming from where we stand right now?
That's awesome. I think one of the things that I'm most optimistic about is we're still so young that we haven't even unlocked what this medium we've invented. Like, how awesome is it that we get to be alive when our species has finally figured out a medium of entertainment that the audience is in the experience and affects it and changes it through their behavior. Like, people looking at the stuff we drew on the cave walls didn't have that. People that were in Shakespeare's Globe Theater weren't changing the play, man.
Right.
We've figured out a medium as a species where the audience is a participant in the experience and is creating the story because they are it. They are the story. And that's fucking beautiful, but we have not even come close to unlocking what that actually means. And it's fun for me to mess around with an idea like Borderlands or, all the stuff that I've done. But I feel like, man, we haven't even begun yet. We haven't actually cracked this nut yet. And we're making money and that's cool. And we're creating joy and having people engage and that's cool. But man, what we actually can do with this thing, we're still just figuring it out. And that makes me really excited and optimistic. And it also, frankly, a little mad. I'm kind of jealous because I'm not sure we'll fully realize the potential of this medium we've created in my lifetime.
The jury's out on both
we almost certainly
how
won't.
long you'll live.
We almost certainly won't. There's just too much to do that we haven't even come close to touching yet. But I'm not gonna die. I intend to die in office, and we'll see what else we can. And this is the other burden, right? Because I fucking love Borderlands. It's super fun. I hope I get to make Borderlands forever. At the same time, I've got so many other things I want to explore and unlock that, really big things that think completely outside of the boundaries of our current constructs. And the industry wants to reward me for making more Borderlands, and I'm grateful because I love it and I'll keep doing that. But to find, it's taken me a long time. I mentioned Brothers in Arms earlier, and when I started Borderlands, we had to stop Brothers in Arms. I didn't have the constructive capability with myself and the way my team was organized to simultaneously maximally develop Brothers in Arms as a game and as a franchise, and simultaneously create something new like Borderlands. So I had to abandon one to do the other. But when I did that, I realized that was happening. And so I said to myself, okay, I'm not going to abandon Borderlands. We're going to go all in on that. But we're also going to build muscle so that we can be capable, so that when we do take that next step, we can do that simultaneously to creating Borderlands. And also hopefully attend to those things that we've left behind that are worthy and deserve attention too. We have lots of great IP in our portfolio. And it's not just about IP. It's because some of the things we'll create might even transcend the concept of what IP is. So we'll see. It's all part of it's all spice for the recipe.
Got me excited now.
Oh, good.
All right. Well, I think that's a wrap on our time. So Randy Pitchford, everybody, thank you again.
Cheers, man.
Really interesting discussion.
It was fun to hang out. Thanks for chatting with me.
Appreciate it.
Cheers.
And, that's the big show.